Dear friends, I approach this topic with a lot of trepidation for two reasons. One, the kind of introduction that has been given has definitely raised the expectations, and I am afraid whether I'd be able to match up to the expectations that have been raised. The second issue is I'm speaking before army personnel, those who have actually been in the war theater and have the first-hand experience of the terrain, the situation, the position on Jammu and Kashmir. So speaking to civilian audience is one thing, and speaking to people with first-hand on-ground experience is something else. So I am slightly cagey about what I am going to speak. We are celebrating Kargil Vijay Divas, as well as the 7th anniversary of the abrogation of the Article 370 and 35A. Both these developments are seminal developments that have got bearing on the contemporary progress of this nation. What we achieved after Kargil and what has happened after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A form the subject matter of my talk today. As far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, the most important date for us is 26th October 1947, when Maharaja Hari Singh had acceded his princely state into India, and Jammu Kashmir has become an irrevocable, indivisible part of India. In fact, it had only become an indivisible part of India politically on this date, but emotionally, culturally, spiritually, Jammu Kashmir has always been part of our national consciousness. But after that, we have seen several wars being fought with Pakistan, especially 5 major wars I can recount. 47-48, of which Kal Ramesh Kumar ji had made copious references to. 1965, a very important war. This was perhaps Pakistan's last best chance to take over Kashmir, because they had planned very well in advance. As always, Pakistan plans very well in advance, but never knows how to end the operation. So this was a very well planned operation. First part of it was Operation Gibraltar, through which they infiltrated lot of raiders into Kashmir who can spread disaffection and then raise people in revolt against government of India using religion and other issues. And the second part was Operation Grand Slam. They used the Akhnur dagger of Pakistan, which is perilously close to our lifeline, Pathankot Jammu highway, and they wanted to cut off this and then separate Kashmir, and they failed miserably in this attempt. 1971 is another war that we fought with Pakistan. The chief theatre of war was on the eastern sector, the Bangladesh, but then there was action in Kashmir also. Nirmaljit Singh II got his Paramveer Chakra here in Kashmir when Pakistan's air raids happened. And it was here in these places that India, perhaps for the first ever time after 1947, it managed to annex a couple of villages from Pakistan in the Nubra Valley, Tutuk, so on and so forth, and added them to our geography. This perhaps is the only geography that has been added to India after 1947, apart from Sikkim, which happened somewhere in mid-1970s. Then Operation Meghdut of 1984, not considered a full-scale war, but a very significant war to reclaim Siachen Glacier, because the ceasefire line that India and Pakistan had delineated on the ground ended at a point called point 9842, and beyond which the ceasefire agreement mentions that to the north of point 9842, the north has been differently interpreted by Pakistan and India, and India's contention has been that it goes straight, and Siachen falls there, and how India annexed Siachen is a very great story in itself. There is a very beautiful book written by Nitin Gokhale, a defense correspondent. It's called Point Beyond Point 9842, a must read for all of us, particularly those who are interested in Jammu and Kashmir. The next war was 1998 Kargil War. In between, there is another significant development as far as Kashmir is concerned. That was 1994 February 22, when Government of India's Parliament, the elected people's representatives of this country, have unanimously resolved that the only issue that is still pending as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned is only with regard to the occupied territories. The question of liberating the occupied territories is the only issue that needs to be resolved, and Jammu Kashmir's accession to India is irrevocable. This unanimous resolution is a game changer in many ways in India's thinking about India's strategy on Kashmir and how India presented itself on the world fora. Here, when we actually look at these 5 wars, we see a very interesting trend. With every war, the area of operations, the theater of war has been shrinking continuously. The first war was the whole of the Kashmir was involved, starting from Zojila to Skardu to Shalateng to Uri, Domel and all these places. The 1965 war was limited in a way to the western part of the Kashmir, particularly Hajipir Pass and other areas. This 71 war was very limited when it came to Kashmir. Siachen war was limited to 70 square kilometers of icy glacier. Kargil war, the last one that we fought, was limited to roughly 150 kilometers because the whole war was fought in a very short area abutting National Highway 1 that links Leh to Srinagar. Very important lifeline, but then the theater of war was getting shrinking progressively with each war. At the same time, the non-state actors, cross-border terrorism, war by other means have been growing in Jammu and Kashmir. They have been growing by leaps and bounds. 90s were when the first attacks happened in Mumbai. The serial blasts of Mumbai happened in 90s. And since then, the whole of the country, especially Jammu Kashmir and many parts of Punjab, were engulfed in cross-border terrorism. So this is a very interesting development. With progressing war, the actual area of physical war, conventional war was shrinking, but non-conventional war's theater was expanding beyond the confines of Jammu Kashmir, spreading to the whole country. This is a very important development. This shows Pakistan's desperation. Pakistan realizes that in a conventional warfare, it is no match to India. And this has been proved beyond doubt once again in the recent Op Sindoor, Pahalgaon, post-Pahalgaon Op Sindoor, where Pakistan has been pulverized, their air force has been immobilized, and increasingly global commentators who were skeptical about India's achievements earlier are now singing paeans to the military capabilities, particularly of the air force of this country. And now the world is coming to realize the prowess of Indian military in a short conventional war. How we immobilized Pakistan and had countries like America and China scurrying to make peace. But then post Article 3, I think as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, removal of Article 370 and 35A is a watershed point. There are 2 recent major achievements as far as Jammu and Kashmir are concerned. One is the 2019 August 5th, when the Article 370 was removed by Parliament of this country. The second, about which I am going to talk later, is India's decision to keep Indus Water Treaty in abeyance. This is a watershed thing that has never happened in the since 1960. India never thought of keeping this agreement in abeyance. Even during 1971, even during Kargil war, even during 1965 war. This is something that India has done, and this is going to have long-term consequences for both Pakistan as well as for India. In fact, for the South Asia in general. So what has happened after the abrogation of Article 370? First thing, post-abrogation of Article 370, the world in general has accepted India's decision as a fait accompli. This is one of the biggest diplomatic achievement of this country, how we managed to build the world opinion in favor of our country, and how countries like America and even China had said that this is an internal matter of India. For the first ever time, they said abrogation of Article 370 is an internal matter of India. And Pakistan had no locus standi, because Pakistan, way back in 1973, it had removed state subjects law. Jammu Kashmir had what is known as state subjects law, which actually grants citizenship to Jammu Kashmir, residents of Jammu and Kashmir. As permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir, you are entitled to some special rights. Post 1971 war, one of the first things that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did was to abrogate this state subjects law, and since 1973, there has been a demographic shift in Pak-occupied Jammu Kashmir. Pak-occupied Jammu Kashmir now has a significant Punjabi and Pathan population in many of the important towns like Kotli, Mirpur, Muzaffarabad, Rawalakot and all these places. Even the areas adjoining Poonch have a majority of Punjabis as well as Pathans, particularly Pashtuns from the KPK region, those who are aligning with the TTP ideology. So they removed their version of Article 370 way back in 1973. This was removed in Gilgit and Baltistan too. Then it was known as northern areas. Till 2008, this region was Gilgit-Baltistan was known as northern areas in Pakistan. Now it is called Gilgit and Baltistan. So Gilgit-Baltistan, particularly areas in around the Gilgit region, they now have huge Sunni population, while conventionally Gilgit-Baltistan is a Shia-dominated area, which is leading to lot of sectarian strife in that region. So Pakistan had no locus standi whatsoever in criticizing India's decision to abrogate Article 370. The second important thing is near political consensus within India. Most of the opposition parties, they had their objections, but they were very muted in their reaction, because they were sensing the national mood in this country. And the national mood was very much in favor of the abrogation of Article 370 and the full and final integration of Jammu and Kashmir on paper. Jammu Kashmir has always been part of India. But then this 370 needed to be removed, because Nehru himself had said that this is a temporary provision as mentioned in the law itself, one. And secondly, he said it will erode and corrode. The words of Jawaharlal Nehru, wo ghiste ghis jayega. This was the word that he used in Parliament. Article 370, ghiste ghis jayega. So that has happened. So even no political party had opposed it. And third and most important thing, the way Government of India handled the situation post Article 370 has left no one in doubt of Government of India's determination to ensure peace. And the result is there for all of us to see. The stone pelting has stopped. The separatist rhetoric has become muted. I do not claim that people have turned overnight patriots and pro-Indians. The feeling of alienation, feeling of separation, feeling of having lost an entitlement is very much there in Jammu and Kashmir. Our field studies, our field researchers, our interaction with people show that they are unhappy with the abrogation. At least the current generation, the Gen Z and the those who are even involved in tourism, whose source of sustenance is Indian tourists from India, even they feel that they have lost an entitlement. But then they have read the writing on the wall and they have become muted. Two things that the government has done post Article 370 was to weed out anti-national elements from within the administration of Jammu and Kashmir. This is a very remarkable achievement because starting from 1985 onwards, the 87 unfortunate elections of 1987, which were highly rigged and which has given rise to a lot of disaffection within Jammu and Kashmir, where the results were unfortunately altered by the government to suit its narrative, and which has given rise to a lot of other complications. People like Sayyid Salahuddin fleeing to Pakistan and forming United Jihad Council, so on and so forth. All these developments we know very well. So the basic issue was, starting from that time, the separatists, overground workers of the terrorist organizations, their supporters, their relatives have infiltrated into various arms of the government, starting from education to Panchayat Raj. And Government of India, post the abrogation, has for the first ever time started targeting them. Over 105 such officers have been identified and they have been removed from their duties. There is a provision in the Constitution, I think 311D, by which the governor is entitled to remove people who are spreading disaffection against the country, and using this provision, over 105 officers have been summarily dismissed from the service, and several OGWs, overground workers, have been identified, and lot of Jamaat-e-Islami schools have been closed. Not many people are aware that most of these mosques in Jammu and Kashmir are not managed by Kashmiri priests, Kashmiri imams. People from Bihar, people from UP, those who have been trained in the madrasas, they go all the way and they become the preachers, and they actually direct the jihad in Jammu Kashmir masjids. The announcement, the Ralif, Galif, Zalif, this was made from the minarets of the mosques. And the priests, most of the imams or muezzins or those who sing azans, they were from UP and Bihar. Recently I met one such Imam Sahib in my place, and while talking to him, that Imam Sahib had revealed that he is originally from Bihar Sharif, but then he had worked for 11 years in Jammu and Kashmir. I said, where did you work? He said he had worked in Sopore, he had worked in Baramulla, he had worked in Avantipura, he had worked in all these places for 11 years, and he had now come to ECIL area of Hyderabad. Right now he is not there in ECIL, he has shifted to Siddipet area, but then this is something that the Government of India has started tracking in a big way, and Jamaat-e-Islami mosques have been schools, madrasas, the educational institutions of Jamaat-e-Islami that were being run with the support of government funds, they have been closed, their properties have been attached. This is one major achievement. And those students have been integrated into the government schools and the other schools that are available, so that they can receive the secular education like all other people. And the recent incident where a constable of Jammu and Kashmir police was shot dead, perhaps in Sopore, if I am not wrong, he was shot dead. Immediately in response, the Jammu Kashmir government had rounded up 2,500 OGWs, overground workers, and questioned them. This is the kind of knowledge that the intelligence apparatus, security apparatus, and the Jammu Kashmir administration has on the ground. This may appear to be slightly disproportionate for one constable rounding off 2,500 OGWs, but then desperate times need desperate measures. And when 2,500 OGWs are questioned, it sends a stern message. I think post Article 370, the security grid in Jammu Kashmir has been tightened in such a way that the terrorists have decided to shift their base to Jammu region, particularly Poonch and Rajouri. This is one very interesting development post the abrogation of Article 370. The Rajouri, Poonch, Jammu region, the Mendhar, Bimbar Gali, and the Suran Kot, Bhatta Dhuriya, all these areas, they were rid of terrorism way back in 2003 when there was an operation called Operation Sarpa Vinash, very aptly titled Operation Sarpa Vinash, It was an operation in a place called Hill Kaka, very inaccessible jungle, where the concerted military operation using air power as well as the ground forces, they almost eliminated hundreds of terrorists, and Jammu was rid of terrorism since 2003. Now, post the abrogation, terrorism has started raising its head once again in the Jammu region. They have taken advantage of two things. One, the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir has been so tough that it is very difficult to operate for them. The second thing, the Galwan and the post-Galwan incidents needed redeployment of some of our forces from the western sector, from the Pakistan border. They had to be moved to the Galwan sector, particularly the eastern Ladakh region. And this created a security gap which Pakistan tried to exploit. And thirdly, more importantly, the Jammu region, particularly Rajouri, Poonch, Mendar, Bhimber Gali, and all these areas, they are very mountainous and highly forested territories. The Pir Panjal range begins in POJK and extends into our Kashmir. So it's one continuum. So it offers lot of mountainous paths for the terrorists to sneak into India. The security grid there is weak, and because of which there have been 7 or 8 major incidents between 2020 and 2023. Now the situation has been brought under control. That's a different issue. But then this is that Jammu can be, Jammu's Rajouri, Poonch, for instance, Rajouri town. If you have ever visited Rajouri town has a 60-30 ratio against the Hindus. 60% of the city's population is Muslim. For example, Bhimber Gali is just 7 kilometers away from the LOC. So they offer lot of opportunity for the terrorists, and unfortunately some of our neglect as far as handling the Gujar and Bakarwal communities. They have their own problems. Jammu Kashmir is a multi-layered society. When the government of India had decided to give ST status to Pahadi Muslims, the Gujars and Bakarwals were unhappy. Gujars and Bakarwals, though Muslims, already enjoy ST status. They are the only Muslims who enjoy ST status. Apart from the Siddhis of Karnataka, they are the only Muslims who enjoy the ST status. And when Pahadis were extended the same facility, they were unhappy, and Pakistan exploited this unhappiness. Gujars and Bakarwals have been the bulwark of Indian army. One of the Gujar Bakarwal porters, I remember his name, he is Ismail. During 1965 war, he carried an injured major all the way from the hilltop down, and he brings him to safety and gets him admitted to the hospital, and he was awarded Mahavir Chakra for that. There are only 2 civilians who have been awarded Mahavir Chakra. One of them is this Ismail, who has been later killed by the terrorists during the height of the terrorism. And the second one is a person called Dhobi Ramchandar. Dhobi Ramchandar was actually a washerman, not trained to fight war, but then during 1947, I think 1965, when his whole team gets injured, he snatches the weapon and then fights and kills some 7 people. I remember there's a book written on General Timmaya, cover of which has General Timmaya pinning the Mahavir Chakra medal on the chest of Dhobi Ramchandar. Dhobi Ramchandar with all that pagdi and everything. That is the cover of the book, sir. So these are the 2 people, civilians, who got Mahavir Chakra. The point I was trying to make is this disaffection among the Gujars and Bakarwals was used by Pakistan. I think this is one area that needs to be addressed, looked into. And while catering to the interests of Pahadis, the interests of the Gujars and Bakarwals also need to be addressed. Because Gujars and Bakarwals, with their dhokes and all those things, they are our first responders when it was the Gujars and Bakarwals who first informed about the Kargil invasion. So I think this is one challenge before the government of India, how it addresses various pro-India Muslim communities within Jammu and Kashmir. This is one important aspect that needs to be addressed. The second important thing is the theatre. While terrorism has shifted to Poonch and Rajouri region, communal tensions have shifted to the so-called Chenab Valley. I hate to use the word Chenab Valley because there is no such thing as Chenab Valley. Chenab Valley is part and parcel of the Jammu region, Doda, Kishtwar, Udhampur. Anu was mentioning about Kishtwar, which is the home for the production of kesar, kumkum puvu. So Doda, Kishtwar and Udhampur, they are very important because they offer passages into Leh Ladakh, they offer passages into Jammu Kashmir, Kashmir Valley, Gurez, Lolab and all these regions. So it is an important hub. I think communal tensions in these areas, particularly Bhadarwah, Doda, Kishtwar, I think these need to be addressed by the Jammu Kashmir government immediately, because this disaffection can lead to the entry of terrorists, and recently 2 or 3 terrorists have been caught in Bhadarwah town very recently. The third major trend that I see is within Kashmir Valley, the attacks on Pandits have come down, the attacks on security forces have come down, but the attacks on 2 other sections which have been hitherto untouched have gone up. One is the Kashmiri police. Kashmiri police haven't been targeted of late, though 1 or 2 people were killed recently, but most of them were spared. But this time, for the first ever time, the Kashmiri police are being targeted. This is one important development. And second is they are targeting the migrant workers. Recently 8 migrant workers from Chhattisgarh were done to death. And prior to that 2 people from Chhattisgarh were done to death. Now, why are they doing this? Because they want to raise the bogey of demographic change in Kashmir Valley. Because post the abrogation, over 80,000 people have been given permanent residentship in Jammu Kashmir Valley. Sorry, Kashmir Valley. 80,000 is a very significant number. Prior to that, in 4 years only 180 people were given, but now around 80,000 people were given citizenship. Not citizenship, but PRC, primary residence, permanent residentship certificate. But most of them are Valmikis, already existing scheduled castes, already existing Gurkhas who had served in the Maharaja's army. So they are not someone who have come from outside. Those who have come from Chhattisgarh, those who have come from other places, they have not been given PRC as of now. But then this 80,000 is a figure that is raising, the separatists are trying to use this to raise a bogey, create a kind of, sense of alienation among the people. I think the government of India needs to set things right here and ensure that there is no demographic shift is not possible, but then a judicious and justicious reorganization of Jammu Kashmir region has to be done. Whatever has been done prior to the recent assembly elections has not been enough, and post census I think something more concrete needs to be done. And did Jammu Kashmiri people, particularly people from Kashmir, did they completely shun separatism? I doubt, because my own interactions I have had as a journalist, I had the occasion to interact with many Jammu Kashmir journalists. I was able to interact with Shujat Bukhari, who was later killed, Nasir Ganei, Muzammil Jamil and all these journalists who were very popular figures in Jammu and Kashmir. The attempt to spread disaffection is still there in Jammu and Kashmir, and it needs a generational shift for the perception to change. I think the government of India needs to work very hard. Anu was giving the example of the great people of Jammu and Kashmir where Masarat Alam and Syed Ali Shah Gilani's names have been included. This is one big problem. Jammu and Kashmir, particularly the Kashmiri people, speak in 3 tongues. That is one major problem. They speak differently in Srinagar Valley. The moment they come to Jammu, they speak a different tone. And when they come to Delhi, they become nationalists. And Sheikh Abdullah did it, Farooq Abdullah did it, Umar Abdullah did it, and almost every Kashmiri, including journalists, has perfected this art. And one region where government of India has failed is, it has failed to turn the narrative even now. Even now the main focus of Jammu Kashmir media is Srinagar. If you actually go to the internet and then see newspapers published from Jammu and newspapers published from Kashmir region, you would find the difference. The Excelsior, so on and so forth, that are published from Jammu have different headlines, different banners, different news items and different coverages and different news priorities. When compared to the Greater Kashmirs and Rising Kashmirs and the Kashmir Life, Kashmir Observer, so on and so forth, that are published from Srinagar. Despite 7 years of the abrogation of Article 370, the news foci have not been shifted away from Srinagar. The government had succeeded in bringing local government through panchayats and others, but unfortunately, it has not been able to change the media narrative. The media stories still emanate from Srinagar. That is the biggest problem. For them, anyone is a security force, be it BSF or Rashtriya Rifles or Army or even Constable. It's a very devious general term which can create a lot of confusion. So friends, these are the things that need to be done. And one, before I close, there are 3 warnings. The first is, in the days to come, Pakistan is going to increase localized attacks on migrant workers, police constables, and then sporadic attacks would be there on Kashmiri people, those who are collaborating with the nationalist forces. And this is going to be on the rise, and Government of India has to address this issue and prepare the security grid along this line. Secondly, on the eastern Ladakh side, I foresee increasing interference by the Chinese in the coming days, because the more interference on the Chinese border area, the line of actual control, there is no border as such, it is only a line of actual control, it's a perceived line. So there will be more trouble in this area, so that India's attention can be diverted away from the Kashmir, Rajouri, Poonch area, and then Pakistan can resort to some kind of perfidy. The Government of India needs to be prepared for these eventualities in the coming days, and Jammu Kashmir Study Center has a great role to play in educating the people about what is happening in Kashmir, the greater important developments that are happening, how the Basoli art or the examples that get given. One of my friends, Mr. Jaykumar from Chandigarh, he has been providing textbooks and all kinds of notebooks and then school bags to the border children from the border areas. He has been doing it for the last 12 years and he is a regular visitor to the border areas. Such positive stories must be emanated, and such stories must be popularized, and unless this is done, I think we cannot win this battle of narrative. In the days to come, there will be more focus on Jammu Kashmir. Once America is free from Ukraine and Iran, again Kashmir will come into focus, and the Government of India, the people of this country should be prepared for this eventuality, and then Jammu Kashmir Study Centers, as workers of Jammu and Kashmir Study Center, Jammu Kashmir Ladakh Study Center it should be, because Ladakh is now a separate unit. We need to work for creating an information flow in the society, as Anu had said, fight the misinformation and disinformation. Thank you for the patient hearing. Dhanyawad.
ఈ వీడియో మీకు నచ్చినట్టయితే లైక్ చేయండి, 10 మందికి షేర్ చేయండి. అలాగే కామెంట్ల రూపంలో మీ అభిప్రాయాలను మాతో పంచుకోండి. నేషనలిస్ట్ హబ్ గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ ఛానల్స్ ను సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకుని తెలుగునాట జాతీయవాద జర్నలిజాన్ని ప్రోత్సహించండి. ఈ వీడియో కింద ఉన్న బెల్ ఐకాన్ పై క్లిక్ చేయడం మర్చిపోవద్దు.